The digestive system, from the esophagus, which transports food initially captured and processed in the mouth, to the rectum, which temporarily holds the non-digestible waste until it can be removed from the body through the anal canal, is a series of tubes. Recall that the basic anatomy of a tube, which was covered in an earlier presentation, consists of a wall comprised of 3 structural layers, or tunics. Let's review the pattern of tubular systems before applying this pattern to the digestive tubes. From deep to superficial, the structural pattern of tubular anatomy consists of an internal layer, typically comprised of an epithelial tissue and an associated vascular connective tissue, a middle layer that consists of a variable combination of smooth muscle and connective tissue, and an external layer typically consisting of a variably thick, dense, irregular, fibroelastic connective tissue. All tubes in the body follow this basic pattern, which we will now apply to the anatomy of the digestive system. Let's begin with an overview of the tubes of the digestive system. After bringing food into the mouth, where it can be processed by the teeth and tongue, the food passes through the pharynx during the swallowing process to the transport tube called the esophagus, the first part of the digestive system proper. The esophagus enters the stomach, an expanded portion of this series of tubes, where a lot of food can accumulate quickly. Think of what you can consume in just 15 minutes at Thanksgiving dinner. The contents of the stomach are then moved in smaller increments into the major processing region called the small intestine, where the majority of digestion occurs. The long coiled small intestine is subdivided into a short duodenum, with its glandular outgrowths, the liver and the pancreas, which produce secretions that are essential for chemical digestion in the small intestine. The duodenum leads to the longer segments of the small intestine, the jejunum and the ileum. The digestive system terminates as the large intestine, which consists of a cecum with its projecting appendix, the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, and rectum, which exits the body through the anal canal. This series of tubular passageways transports and mechanically and chemically breaks down the food we eat, and in the process absorbs the chemical byproducts of digestion, before removing the non-digestible byproducts from the body. The substances absorbed into the blood during the digestive process are the primary sources of metabolic fuel and the building blocks for all of the tissues of the body. Like all tubes, the digestive tubes have 3 structural layers, or tunics. Let's begin by examining the basic tunic pattern of the digestive tubes on an illustration and photomicrograph. The photomicrograph is of the small intestine wall, which is a good representation of the basic pattern. The internal layer of the digestive tube is named the tunica mucosa. The mucosa is a complex layer that is thicker than the internal layer of most tubes, and it has a range of sublayers that form key structure-function relationships. The innermost sublayer of the mucosa is the epithelial layer, which is comprised of simple columnar epithelium throughout most of the digestive system. This epithelium has a variety of cell types that perform functions from secretion to absorption to body defense surveillance. Beneath the epithelial layer is the lamina propria, a vascular loose connective tissue containing dense capillary networks of blood vessels and lymphatic vessels. These are the capillaries that function as the site of absorption for products of digestion. The next sublayer of the mucosa is the muscularis mucosae, a thin layer of smooth muscle that regulates lymph flow in the tubular wall and aids expression of secretion from mucosal glands. The final component of the mucosa is the tela submucosa, a layer of vascular loose connective tissue that contains the vessels that feed and drain the capillaries of the lamina propria, while its collagen and elastin fibers permit the considerable size changes that accompany the function of the digestive tube. The middle layer of the tubular wall, the tunica muscularis, also referred to as the muscularis externa, is a relatively thick layer of smooth muscle tissue, comprised of an inner circular layer of muscle and an outer longitudinal layer of muscle. This important muscle layer functions in a variety of capacities, from the widespread peristaltic movements that propel the tubular contents through the tubes, to the more regional functions of mixing, segmentation, and sphincter constriction to assist with the mechanical digestive functions of the system. The final layer of the digestive tube, the external layer, varies from a tunica adventitia comprised of connective tissue covering the outside of the esophagus to the more prevalent tunica serosa, consisting of a thin, simple squamous epithelial layer referred to as mesothelium. This covers the digestive tubes within the peritoneal sac of the abdomen. The mesothelium secretes a slippery serous fluid that protects the outer surface of the organs from excessive frictional abrasion as they move against one another and the surrounding abdominal wall. So once again, we see that the pattern of the digestive tubes, like all the tubular systems of the body, is a tube comprised of 3 structural layers or tunics. Watch the presentation on the modifications of the digestive tube to learn how this basic pattern is modified along the length of the digestive system to account for the various functions of the different parts of the digestive tract.